Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Slow Art Friday. My name is Christy McMillan. I'm the Director of Learning and Engagement here at the Asheville Art Museum, and I'm joined by two of our docents, Sarah Reincke, a Master Docent, and Megan Pyle, Touring Docent, who will be leading today's Slow Art discussion. I'm also joined by my colleague Sharon McCrory. Hey, Sharon, who is sitting in today to start to help facilitate these programs as well. Each Friday at 12 p.m. while the museum is closed, docents lead virtual, interactive conversations about a few artworks in our collection or special exhibitions. The goal is simple: slow down, discover the joy of looking at art, and talk about the experience with others. For today's program, Sarah and Megan will lead us in an interactive conversation about 3 artworks in our collection. We'll spend about 15 minutes or so with each one. Sarah and Megan will allow us time to look at each work on our own, slowly, before leading a conversation about each one with questions. As participants, we encourage you to engage in dialogue with Sarah, Megan, myself, Sharon, and each other throughout the hour. A few notes while we're getting started. You probably noticed when you logged on that your microphone and video were muted by default. If at any time you'd like to turn on your video so that we can see your smiling face on this beautiful Friday, please feel free to do so. And in just a minute, I'll make it so that folks can unmute their microphones as well. Please choose a quiet room and close the door. Silence any alerts from nearby devices as they can be very distracting. If you do choose to have your video on, try not to sit in front of a window, lamp, or other strong light source as it makes it hard to see you. Use headphones and microphone for best sound quality. While you can log on using a smartphone, we do recommend using a desktop, laptop, or tablet in order to see the artworks and meeting tools on a larger screen. Make sure that your screen name includes your first name and last initial, or first name and last name, so that we know who we're talking to. In order to ask questions or make comments during the program, you can unmute your microphone when Sarah or Megan ask for questions or comments. You can also type any questions or comments that you have into the chat box. Finally, you could raise your hand in the participant sidebar, and either Sharon or I will call on you and ask you to unmute your microphone so that you can ask your question or make your comment. I can say that the chat box option in the participant sidebar, sometimes you might be waiting for a while to ask your question or make your comment. So please feel free to jump in and participate in the conversation. Finally, we are recording, so if you prefer not to be recorded, make sure that your video and audio remain muted and use the chat box to submit any questions or comments. At this point, I'm going to make it so that folks can unmute themselves whenever you'd like. We do ask that you leave your microphone off unless you're actively asking a question or making a comment. Does anybody have any questions before we get started? Fantastic. Sarah and Megan, what will we be discussing today? Sarah, you're muted.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you all today. Beautiful sunny day, start of a holiday weekend, and with the great news that we will be back home soon. Woohoo! So today, my friend Megan Pyle and I are going to facilitate conversations. And in honor of Labor Day, we chose a theme, Labor of Love. We've chosen 2 paintings and a sculpture that focus on physical labor and money. The artworks are sure to ignite different emotions and reactions, which is what we strive toward. And we're very, very excited about discussing these artworks with y'all this morning. Megan will facilitate the conversation for the first and the third artworks, and I will lead the discussion for the second artwork, a sculpture. As Christy said, we will be discussing the pieces for about 15 minutes, and one of the things that I love about Slow Art Fridays and those that participate The conversation is most often very easy, very lively, and we have been known to have to cut it off. So please don't be offended if we say we have to move on to the next piece, because we want to make sure that we have ample time with all three artworks. So with that, Megan, if you will introduce the first artwork, away we go.
Okay, thank you, Sarah, and happy Friday. Good afternoon. Glad to be sharing this time with you. So if everyone could please just take a few moments to look at this artwork, top to bottom, side to side, corner to corner. So what's going on in this artwork?
It looks to me like a number of men online to get work, to do labor. I see the railings, and it looks like one of them in the front there's holding a shovel. And I note how strong that their arms look. And I'm also drawn to the man who appears to be sitting in the front.
Okay, good. So you're seeing a large group of men who appear to be workers and appear to be online waiting for work. What do you see that makes you say that?
Well, the one man looks like he's holding some kind of a hammer, axe, shovel in his hand. And they appear to all have, well, most of them have hats and work clothes. And it looks like a railing that they're holding on to, like it's forming some kind of a queue or line for them to get the work. And they don't look like happy, like they're online for a fun amusement ride or anything, you know, so.
Okay, good. So you're noticing the clothing and the tools, and they appear to be lined up. So what more can we find? What type of work do you think they may be doing, given the hats and the tools that some of them have?
You asked specifically about hats. I'm noticing this guy here in the back who I've probably never looked at before. His hat is different from the rest of them. Actually, so this gentleman here and this gentleman here are sort of different from the other ones. This one isn't wearing a hat at all. This guy's hat is more like a fisherman's hat. Mm-hmm. And he looks kind of disengaged from the rest of the group too. So I'm wondering if maybe he's going somewhere else to work.
Okay, good.
I'm struck by the different ages of the people. The old man, or who looks like an old man, he may not be, he looks very worn, and the ones in the back, and the front and center man in the tan shirt, much younger, and the one African-American man there in the corner with the white shirt. I don't think it's a railing. I think they're holding tools, getting ready to work. Each one, the one with behind the younger man has also a tool or what looks like railing, but I don't think it's railing. I think it's tools that they're holding on to, either getting ready to clock in, if you will, that they are laborers, and I don't know what their actual labor is, but they're obviously dressed as they're going to be doing heavy work, and that they're maybe waiting for the time to be able to clock in for their shift to start. But no one's smiling, no one looks happy at all, and different different ages and they're looking in different directions. So something else must be going on, or in my mind, something else is going on somewhere else as well as what's straight ahead.
Okay, good. So
With each other in any way.
yes, does someone else have something they'd like to add?
Yeah, they aren't interacting with each other in any way. Looking, touching, and they're each in their own space.
Okay, good. So there's a separateness to the group. And what more can you find?
The man on the right seems to have a wheelbarrow. It seems, because it's got two handles.
Good.
Imagining a wheelbarrow, and the others, you can't really tell what they're holding. Could be axes, could be shovels, but given the state of the overalls and the unkemptness, you imagine it's manual labor, but it could be almost anything from farm work to railroad to coal. Probably not coal. You'd probably see a lot dirtier if it was coal. Something very manual.
Okay, good. So does anyone have a comment on how would you feel if you were in the artwork?
There's a sense of desperation, on their faces. It seems, to get work and what that provides.
Okay, good. And what do you see on their faces that makes you say that?
The gentleman to the right of with the green cap, third from the left, he seems to have like a worrisome look on his face, as well as the gentleman with the blue cap. Seems very worrisome.
Okay, good. And do you think the artist would intend for you to feel as such?
To feel
Yeah.
desperate?
To feel desperate, yes.
It's almost like they're in our space. I wish I had a picture of this in the gallery, but I think that if I'm remembering correctly, and Sarah and Megan, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that they're about life size, and it's hung in such a way that they're sort of on your level. So you feel like you're part of their space. You feel like you're sort of one of the group.
Because of their expressions and the way their eyes and their body language, each one is like off in their own separate time element, thinking, space, concentration, yet they're all together. So they're different, but united together for the same reason, it looks like.
Okay, good. So what other emotions does the artwork evoke? We talked about desperation and separateness.
So can I ask Billy? Billy, can we do a sound check with you? Because it looks like your microphone is on. Is it working? No? Okay. So Billy in the chat had said, sorry, Billy, that she agreed with Edward that they looked sort of desperate to work, maybe desperate to earn money, and that maybe they were competing for whatever work is available.
Okay, good.
There are just two gentlemen who are not looking at us. Well, three, including the person who is in the green hat. but the two in the back, the one on the right, whose face is a little less distinct, and then the one in the fisherman hat. But everybody else is kind of engaged with what's ahead. And they look,
Okay, good.
they might be looking at each other. I don't know.
So, so where was your eye drawn first in this artwork?
My eye is drawn to their eyes because I think that this gentleman here have really, really, really clear blue eyes. And I'm wondering if there's a family relationship between them just because the artist has painted their eyes so similarly, but also like this gentleman's eyes, he has a very clear direction where he's looking. This gentleman's eyes are also very distinct, whereas this gentleman's eyes, they almost look hollow. It almost looks like a mask that he's wearing, kind of. And then this one, he looks very hard. So I think that their eyes are super engaging. And as I was saying, if it's sort of hanging on your level, you're at eye level with these guys. And so it really sort of draws you in a very human way.
Okay, good. So everyone's noticed the humanity of this artwork and the emotions that it evokes, looking for work and looking for a way to earn a living and take care of yourself and potentially a family.
They look tired to me, although they look like capable and strong and that they're there to do work or get work. They look tired.
And what do you see that makes you say that?
Well, the gentleman sitting in the front, I assume he's sitting, and even the gentleman with the wheelbarrow, his arms are strong, and I do think that could be a wheelbarrow now rather than, as the other person mentioned, instead of a railing. But his facial expression with his mouth, and he just looks to me to be tired.
Okay, good. His facial, do you see anyone else's facial expression that looks tired?
So Billy in the chat, I really miss you talking, Billy. Billy in the chat said that she finds a real sort of discrepancy between the eager look of the young man here in the center versus the sort of, I'm guessing, downtrodden, maybe Billy, look of the older man who's seated. And that the look on the man's face here in the brown shirt, it's a look that says to her, like, I really need this job.
Okay, good. Well, it's just about time to wrap up our discussion on this artwork. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to add?
One thing I question with this piece is, where are they? Are they in a room? Are they outside? Given the state of like the tools they have, I imagine they would be outside, but I really don't see sun, like, given the shadows in the back. So I look at this and I wonder, where are they? And if they were inside, why would they be inside?
Okay, good. Okay, good. Well, thank you all. I think we've had a really interesting discussion as far as just the feelings that this artwork evokes. It's a James Ormsby Chapin painting, and it was painted during, I think, still the Great Depression. And it's an oil on canvas. And James Ormsby Chapman is sort of known for his regionalist works and kind of realistic depictions of the rigors and rhythms of rural farm life. So, well, thank you everyone for your contributions to our discussion, and back to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I really like that artwork. I think that it just draws you in. So I appreciate the conversation that ensued. All right, so let's look at this sculpture actively, look at all the different facets for about 10 seconds. All right. So now that we've had an opportunity to take a soulful look at the sculpture, what is going on? What are some of your initial thoughts?
Sort of looks like an eagle maybe that's killed a pigeon. I don't know. It looks like there's a little bird there, and then this other bird is lying down clearly on the ground with the claw on top of it. And it looks to be created out of money, like money origami kind of things. Like we used to make things when I was younger out of money rings and other things. And so.
Yes, so it appears to be an eagle. He's stepping on something while another poor pigeon looks on. What else can we say?
Well, the birds have name tags, Nick and Joe, and Joe took the brunt of Mr. Eagle's wrath.
You did.
So I wonder who Nick and Joe are.
That's right, Nick and Joe. So we have pigeons with names, and they're interacting with the eagle. Where was your eye first drawn?
Billy commented in the chat that she noticed that the eagle is covered with $1 billion bills.
That's good. A priceless animal. And is it the eagle that your eyes first saw, or did you see the pigeons? Or
The money.
bee?
The money.
The money. Follow that money. All right.
I've noticed Nick's red eye.
Nick's red eye. Great.
Yeah, it's kind of like the filling station bird. That's what it made me think of when I first looked at it.
Yeah, Sally, I think the way that people usually that wear sort of jumpsuits to work usually have their name sort of on their I guess left breast pocket, above their left breast pocket. You know, their first name, Nick, Joe, Bob.
That's right. That's right. So what can we say about the texture? What do you think it would feel like?
Looks kind of like felt, almost. The heads do.
On all three?
No, the eagle looks like paper.
Okay.
Except for the beak and the beak, maybe.
And the eye.
And the claws.
So would it feel smooth, or would it represent, like, what is a eagle covered with?
Money.
And if an eagle in nature?
Oh, feathers.
Feathers. And so there, the money represents his feathers. Is there anything else that we can say about the texture? What about What about if you were to feel Nick and Joe?
So Billy had commented in the chat that it looks stitched together, so sort of bumpy at the seams, but also that the feathers of Nick and Joe look like they would be soft.
Soft. And what about the body of Nick and Joe? What do you think that would feel like?
Nick and Joe look like they would feel smooth,
Mm-hmm.
and the ego feels like it might be bumpier.
Yes, yes. When I was talking with my husband about this, Nick and Joe seem like they might be koozies. That feeling, you know. So we've talked about the emphasis. What about proportion?
Well, the eagle obviously is way dominating and huge, and even the claws and the beak is the entire bird animal is, you know, larger than the two Nick and Joe put together. But I'm just wondering, since this is a sculpture, is this in real life like 3 pieces? Or is this, yeah,
Yes.
okay, okay.
And it is, side note, it's still on exhibit. Come and see A Telling Instinct. So what's the story? What do you think the story behind this might be?
American economic might, putting, exerting their will against lesser opponents.
Lesser opponents. Is there a significance that Nick and Joe are in blue?
Like blue collar workers, is that what you mean, Sarah?
Well, that's what I was hoping others would.
I'm participating. I've never had a
I
chance
think
to
it
sort
is-
of talk
I
through this before.
I think that yes, it is. What often happens to blue collar workers in the world of capitalism?
Well, Joe, the eagle has already squashed Joe, and he has his beady eye on Nick. Like, you could be next.
Oh gosh, now that you say that, Sally, all I can see is like that slight turn of his head, like
His
looking
little
down.
turn. He's giving him the evil eye a little bit there.
So Billy said, just to answer your question, Sarah, that it's like the worker is literally and figuratively being stepped on.
Yes, I think, and while this piece wasn't created this year, do you think it remains relevant?
Even more
Within-
so.
More so.
Yeah.
Every year, it seems more so. Like the middle class is, getting squished, and I now that I think about the name tags, it's like what you would see at a garage or filling station, where someone's wearing their gas station jacket with their name on it. It's exactly like the font I would expect to see someone like that wearing, and those jobs and people sort of been sort of crushed under the
Crushed
economy.
underneath. Yes. So we're mentioning capitalism and the blue collar workers, and what other emotion might that eagle be portraying?
I just noticed the informality of Nick and Joe and how that might, as opposed to, say, a physician or a judge or, another sort of another profession, where maybe you wouldn't call the CEO Nick or Joe.
But also, and I don't know this, maybe Sarah, you can help me, but of course we're looking at a photograph and not the real thing, but the materials used to make the eagle are kind of richer materials, not just the $1 billion bills, but also it kind of looks like his beak is made out of leather. I don't know that for sure. Whereas Nick and Joe are made out of maybe a jean material and like a felt. They're more modest materials too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that brings up a really, really good point. So, do you think that humans have shared qualities with what the eagle is telling us about himself, herself?
The eagle is definitely dominant, just in size, and I think also just expression and posture.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the wings, well, it looks like the left wing is kind of spreading out, like the eagle is puffing itself up to look bigger, and certainly Joe is squashed.
Yeah. What do you think Nick's feeling right now?
That's a great
Fear.
question.
It's kind of like you want to tell him to fly away faster. Like there's nothing you can do to help the guy that's already been squashed. So just get away, you know.
Nick appears to be in the shadow of the eagle, so you wonder if it's too late for him to fly away.
He almost seems like he's frozen there. And
Okay. These are all great comments. I appreciate it. Where does anyone, what about greed?
Greed, money.
Greed.
I was thinking too that the Nick still seems more bird-like still. The eagle does have feathers, but they're money, and he's all money, except for his beak and his feet. Whereas Nick's still a little bit of a bird.
So does this send any messages about how the country's run, capitalism?
I think it's really interesting that, you know, the eagle, of course, is like the symbol of America, and his feathers are money, basically. And so it's sort of equating what America is all about with money, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but it's also like, you know, these conversations that we've had over the past decade and much longer, but especially the past decade, about the 1%, and sort of, you know, that the power is in the hands of the people with money. You know, there's one eagle who's representing a lot of money, and there's multiple pigeons, you know, the little guy, you know, sort of that dominance of money and power and America over the little guy, the worker.
Yes, I agree. And what can we say about what happens to the worker often in today's world?
Like he's overshadowed by the strong voice of the eagle. Oh, Billy says, the 2000 American slogan, "In greed and gluttony we trust." That's from Billy. And the other thing she says, the symbolism of the eagle, that he has strength and the freedom to soar, and which he's exerting over Nick and Joe, the pigeons.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Billy. What does the eagle represent in our culture? So is this, what kind of, I'm interested in exploring, what do you think the intent of this sculpture is?
Strength.
Freedom.
Strength, freedom, and what makes you say those two things?
Well, eagles obviously, physically can, pretty much go wherever they want. They rule the sky and, in nature, and yeah, they have the ability, to go where they might.
It also strikes me, Edward, and I've never really thought about it this way, but an eagle, especially a bald eagle, they're like a predator extraordinaire.
Yeah.
They can take
Mm.
anything, much larger animals than themselves because they have the strength and the grip to sort of pick them up and take them and drop them to kill them and then feed on them. So
Oh.
they're like, the one of the strongest birds of the bird kingdom, I guess, to be able to take and eat what they want.
And I don't know if anyone ever heard this in elementary school, but Benjamin Franklin thought that the turkey should be the symbol of America. The country's bird.
Right. And the country's bird is the eagle. And the eagle has a lot of qualities that Christy covered.
I guess I never thought of that before. I
yet
just
it
see, like,
is
as
the
an American, you
symbol
just
of
see it as like the
America.
symbol of America, but then you start to think
like,
about
oh
like what the eagle can do, right?
Exactly. We're going to have to, I have so enjoyed presenting this piece. It's the first time that I've been able to do a deep dive, and I'm always tickled when I introduce a piece for the first time and it is met with such great discussion. So I really appreciate you all. And if you could show the label. So Anne Liminsky, who is lives in Penland, created this in 2011. It is copper rod, novelty money, fabric, and artificial sinew on the copper wire. It's pretty big. And as I said, it is on display, so y'all can go see it. Anne is based in the Blue Ridge Mountains and creates everything from two-dimensional collage to three-dimensional sculptures. As an artist of the natural world, she focuses on complex, and in this piece we've seen sometimes tense relationships between humans and animals. A couple of things, y'all were right on about Joe and Nick. They do represent blue-collar workers with their names and their uniforms, and I enjoyed that discussion. She also is addressing the 2008 U.S. financial crisis, and her dynamic sculptures often probe the links between the natural and the manufactured world. And it's kind of like with a taxidermist's sensibility that she represents the sculpture in lifelike poses and are expressive and sometimes a little bit threatening, like for poor Joe. So thanks for the discussion, and Megan, I will turn it back to you.
Oh, thank you, Sarah. Okay, and for our final artwork, we'll just again, please take a few moments to look at this artwork top to bottom, side to side, corner to corner. So what's going on in this artwork?
It looks like two horses pulling some sort of a wagon and perhaps a person up there. But I'm drawn to the fact of the colors. There's only really two colors, but multiple shades of those two colors, which give you the trees and the forefront.
Okay, good.
It looks like logs. The horses are pulling. It's like logging. Because those are logs that the man's sitting on, I believe.
Okay, good.
I noticed the negative spaces. There's a real interaction of kind of positive and negative with the, I'm going to assume it's a print of some kind. But the positive and the negative and the overlay of colors, kind of this creates this sort of back and forth.
Okay, good. So, where is your eye drawn first in this artwork?
I think I'm drawn first to the light colored horse, but then very quickly my eyes move upwards along those trees. I can't seem to look away from that kind of very large area of trees and the verticals.
So you're drawn to the contrasting colors of the two horses, and the white horse drew your eye first, and then you immediately looked up to the treetops.
Correct.
Billy says that she's really drawn first to the light in the foreground.
Okay, good.
I wonder how fast they're moving, the horses, what the speed is. I can't really tell if they almost look like they're galloping. So it makes you wonder how fast they're moving.
Okay, good.
It could be snow on the ground, possibly, because it almost looks like a sleigh that the logs are sitting on, and so I mean, they could be struggling as well, because you see sort of like the hoof prints. You can see, you know, they've been through that road before, right? Because you see the hoof prints from past travels.
Okay, good. So thinking about what the story is, or what you think the story might be, do you think that this is how does everyone think about is this person who's driving the two horses and hauling the logs, is this something that's done, you know, several times a day, or is this one journey, or what does everyone think about the story, about what's going on in this artwork?
It would depend on how far they have to go to, like, the sawmill. If they're, you know, cutting trees kind of nearby, and then they take a load to the mill, then they go back and get some more, and then they take a load. I guess it depends on the distance the horses need to cover, how many trips.
The trees are huge. The trees in the background compared to the horses, like if you think how large a horse is, those trees are ginormous. So that would be a lot of work just to cut down a single tree, it seems like.
I agree with Sharon. I think that I mean, although that the white horse and the sort of white foreground, like Billy mentioned, really sort of attract your eye, my eye just sort of lingers up here in the trees, which I find really interesting because they don't stand out anywhere near as much as the rest, but they look so like lifelike and looming, and they're so big in the composition. You know, the horizon line is pulled way down in order to give a lot of emphasis to those trees. And I don't know, like Sharon, if it makes me feel like insecure almost, or like it's dangerous, like situation or something, you feel kind of small in the face of those really huge trees.
They look
Okay,
like they're in
good.
a redwood forest.
Okay, good. And what do you see that makes you say that?
The trees have such wide girth, and I agree with Christy about feeling small. I've been in a redwood forest walking around, and I felt, yeah, minuscule in comparison.
It makes you feel cold. I don't know with the season. I think Edward mentioned maybe that could be snow in the front. The trees look barren, so to speak. They don't look flourishing with flowers or leaves. And the color tones, it makes you feel cold.
And I notice a lot of line happening too, like with the, you know, the vertical trees, but there's also a lot of these diagonal lines of the reins of the horses, and the grasses are sort of leaning, and kind of the way the horses are leaning too. It's almost like conflicting movement happening that's maybe a little anxiety causing.
And
Okay.
down in the lower part, you have kind of a very small echo of the larger trees in the background, with kind of the positive and negative shapes, and kind of seeing through the lines. Also, I was thinking about the sort of positive, almost like a negative effect, like a photographic negative, where the tree is white and the background is dark. Whereas when you see negative of a picture with the tree being dark, usually, and then the background being lighter, it's like the reverse.
Okay, good. Would someone have a comment to, or to be able to speak to the strength of the trees with the vertical lines, but then the diagonal lines that we see kind of in the lower part of the artwork? And can we could anyone correlate a meaning of?
Cut down.
There's more movement with the lines in the lower part of the picture, I guess, because they're smaller and more diagonal, whereas the lines in the background with the trees seem more vertical and stationary and stable.
And are they loggers? I mean, so have they already cut down
Well, these
the trees that represent where all the little tiny limbs are on the ground?
Well, it could be from another area, or those logs could be limbs from a larger tree.
I think it's interesting that the man is almost out of the picture and not the center of the picture. And even the horses moving left to right, the positioning of the horses and the man to the left almost out of the picture.
So Billy had a couple comments about the horses, and Billy, please get your microphone up and running for next week because you always have such great insights. She says, just to go back to the theme of labor, the horses are working very hard, and the driver is working hard too. And she noticed or found it interesting that one of the horses is white and the other is black. If you want to expand on that a little bit in a comment, Billy, I'd be happy to bring your comments back, but she's really drawn to the horses as the workers.
How would you feel if you were in the artwork? We've had some comments that it's cold. And we're not sure exactly what season or what time of day, but cold, and what other what other sort of emotions does this artwork evoke?
I feel cold and tired. And also, even though it's showing working, I'm not getting the feeling that it's work that is really benefiting anyone or is necessarily making the workers feel like they've done something wonderful. Like the horses are just pushing onward, and the man sitting on top of the logs is so far back and unimportant that you just kind of really I don't get that connection of it being like a meaningful thing that's going on.
Well, yeah, it makes me kind of sad. I have a love-hate relationship with logging. I understand its necessity in building the infrastructure of our country with railroads, bridges, buildings, houses, schools, hospitals, but to be in an area that has been logged is more sad than a fire stricken area to me.
Okay, well, and one final question. Would you hang this artwork in your house? And if so, in what room? In which room?
I like that.
I can't say that it appeals to me as a piece that I would personally own. A little too dark for me. So it's not something I would personally hang.
Okay, thank you. All right, well, does anyone else have anything they'd like to say before we move on from this artwork? Okay, well, thank you all so much. It's been a pleasure. This is the artist is Ernest W. Watson, and it's entitled Forest Road, and it's a color lino cut on paper. And Ernest W. Watson was born in Massachusetts, and he was an author and a printmaker who specialized in drawing watercolor and color linoleum cuts. And he also has the distinction of co-founding the Berkshire Summer School of Art in Monterey, Massachusetts. So thank you all very much. Back to you, Sarah.
All right. Well, as always, I just hope everybody enjoys this as much as I do. It's kind of selfish, I understand, but I so enjoy our conversations about art. And I've told Christy it's like my booster shot in the COVID world. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate seeing familiar faces. I want you all to be docents, okay?
You're such a good recruiter for us, Sarah. Thank you so much, Megan and Sarah, for taking the time to choose these artworks. I'm not sure, I think Billy and Laurel, you guys usually go on and sort of do some looking and some research ahead of time. So we actually switched one of the artworks yesterday, so I hope we didn't throw you off too much. We incorporated the deregulator. We thought it would make a really great conversation, and I'm glad that we did, Sarah. So thanks for doing that. Next week's topic is three-dimensional art on a flat screen, and that conversation will be led by two of our docents again, our master docent Lynn Andrews and our touring docent Shauna Hill. So let me know if you're interested in that by registering through our website, ashevilleart.org. Click on the event and it'll take you to the link where you get registered if you haven't already. I know that some of you are already registered. So as always, I hope everyone everyone has a great weekend. We did send out information maybe yesterday and today that thank you, Governor Cooper. He has given us the green light to open next week. Actually, we could open as early as tomorrow, but we weren't ready yet. He kind of sprang that on us a week early. But we will be open to museum members on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday of next week, and then open to the public starting Saturday the 12th. We do have limited capacity, which necessitates a time ticket. Tickets will be available starting at 5 p.m. this afternoon if you'd like to make arrangements to come see us in person and see all of these artworks that we've been talking about all summer. We do have plans to continue Slow Art Fridays, so no worries there. We want to be very mindful about groups in the museum and keeping everyone safe. So we think that this is still a very nice venue to keep having some art conversations until it's safe to have group programs in the museum again. So everyone have a great weekend. It's a holiday weekend, so I hope that you're able to relax and enjoy your holiday.
Be with people you like.
Yes. Take care, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.